Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another day in Bronie's world. And at Bronie's desk today, I have my dear friend and mentor, the most amazing naturopathic doctor in the world, who is the man behind all the research, well, most of the research, and done a fabulous job at helping the world find answers to issues that we are all suffering from, or know people suffering from over the time. And today, and this man also has a book at the Smithsonian, and his name is the most amazing Dr. Joel Wallach.
Hello, Bronwyn.
Oh, hi, Doc. And, we've just been talking about, little situations where people have to move out of home. anyway, so the doc's out of his house at the moment, but that's all right. He's still there helping the world. So today, Doc, I thought we would talk on the subject, and because I've come across a few people over the years, including a little girl that we were going to adopt at one point, but they wouldn't let us take her interstate, so that didn't happen, who was born with brittle bones. And, you have to be a really special type of person as well to take on a child with brittle bones and to raise a child with brittle bones, because they're born with it. And so they were very disappointed we couldn't take this baby, but, they have strict rules about looking after, even when you're adopting them. But anyway, so I thought we would talk on this subject because, let's face it, let's try and help these people that may be subject to it before, while they're in the womb as well, so we can maybe make a difference. So, Doc,
we'll make a difference. Yeah, we'll make a difference. Thank you, Bronwyn. And of course, brittle bones, a baby can be born with it. You can develop it when you're a teenager. You can develop it when you're a senior. You can develop it when you're 100 years old. Brittle bones has to do with the ratio of minerals in your bones compared with the connective tissue, so forth. And if you just have minerals and no connective tissue, it just breaks, very brittle. Okay, you need both the connective tissue and then the minerals, including calcium and so forth, need to be hugging those fibers. Okay, and these are, unfortunately, this is actually quite common in both babies and middle-aged people and seniors. And it's one of those things where arthritis in America, this is just America alone, we spend each year just to treat the symptoms, okay, of arthritis, not to prevent it or cure it, but just to treat the symptoms of arthritis in America each year is $626.8 billion a year. To treat osteoporosis, which is the brittle bone disease, osteoporosis, each year in America, we got the figures of the United States and England together, $6.5 trillion a year just to treat the symptoms. Okay, that's US dollars, 6.5 trillion. So if you have osteoporosis, brittle bones, and it'll incorporate some arthritis, you're talking about $7 trillion a year just to treat the symptoms, as opposed to getting rid of the disease and preventing it. Okay. And this comes down to the fact that the medical system doesn't get any really clear training on nutrition. They believe, they just quote, I just love it. They say, oh, just eat well, you get everything you need. And so this is why most of the treatments that doctors give are symptomatic treatments. In other words, oh, I have terrible pain in my right elbow. So they'll give you a cream to put on there and the pain goes away for a couple of hours. And then you'll be lifting a bag or something, you get a fracture because you really had osteoporosis of that elbow. Okay, couldn't tolerate the weight. And so I grew up on a farm, and in farm animals, we learned a long time ago that you could prevent and cure cystic fibrosis with just supplements. We're talking about vitamins and minerals, not pain relievers. And
Yeah.
then we found out white muscle disease, muscular dystrophy in humans, and white muscle disease in pigs and calves and lambs and so forth is due to a nutritional deficiency. And so I started treating, I'm a kid now, I'm like 6 years old. I'm taking our treatments for osteoporosis and for muscular dystrophy in animals and giving them to my neighbors and church mates and stuff. I'm curing them, okay? Because it's the same disease in animals as in humans. And then we had another disease called SIDS, sudden death syndrome. You've heard of sudden
Yeah.
death syndrome. You don't hear much about it now, do you?
No,
Yeah,
you don't.
back when I was a kid, it's like just in our city, they'd have 400, 500 a month. Sudden death syndrome, where the babies would die when they're like 2 months old, 6 months old. And the mothers, they put the mothers in jail because the doctors told the police that the mothers must be laying on the babies and suffocating them. And that's why they died, okay, of SIDS. I sued the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. I sued them in our federal court 8 times. It took a couple of years, 8 times to sue them, because they didn't want to let us put any of these vitamins and minerals into baby formulas.
It's crazy, hey?
So after 8 times,
okay, I found this on the web for when our federal court 8 times. It took a couple of years.
Sorry about that.
Siri wanted to get in on the act.
Siri wanted to get in the act. Okay. So at any rate, I finally got a win. Well, I got 8 wins, and they countersued me, and I countersued them back. This took a couple of years to do, and so then when we won, we started putting the vitamins and minerals into the baby formulas, and in 3 months' time, all the SIDS stopped. No more sudden death syndrome. It's like crazy. Okay.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And so that's why I don't hear about it anymore, because all these nutrients have been put into the baby formulas. But we had to sue them 8 times in federal court to let us put these vitamins and minerals into baby formulas. And so this is sort of the background we have now. Then we have the other stuff going on called It's All in Your Head. You've heard about that book, It's All in Your Head?
Oh, I do. Oh, look, I have it right here.
Well, there you go. Open it up to page 6.
Let me get there. This one?
Yeah. At the top of the page is a normal human skull at autopsy, okay, in the pathology lab. They took the top of the skull off. The camera's looking down on the brain, but you'll notice that the skull's a quarter of an inch thick.
Yeah.
Raise it up, because this is another skull in the laboratory, in the pathology lab. The skull off, the camera's looking out the brain, but the skull is an inch and a half thick, not just a quarter of an inch thick. Now, flip the page over to the next page. Okay. There's 12 chapters in this book. There's 30 pages. This is just a little book, but it'll save humanity. This is looking at the bottom part of the human brain, and each of those nerves is one of the 12 pairs of cranial nerves that's going out into the body. There's 12 chapters in this book. Okay. Again, it's only 30 pages. and there's a little note by each of those pictures telling you what tissue, what organ is being affected, because the tunnels that the nerves were going through were 95% filled with bone, okay, and pinching on the nerves and the spinal cord. And so when I started this, when I started that, when I started that, the doctors were laughing and slapping their legs and just, what's this Wallach guy? What do you mean osteoporosis of the skull? That just happens, in your leg bones and stuff like that. So we had to go to court and we won there because, we were able to, it's very easy to show. Here's a 1-inch thick skull and here's a 1/4-inch thick skull. And here you can't put a pin through the holes, and the one that's an inch thick because all the tunnels are filled with bone, okay? And so it was very easy to prove that I was correct and they didn't know what they were talking about. And then
you took them to an autopsy room. See the two skulls in real life. That would have.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things where the medical system missed it by 1,000 miles, okay? And so
And some.
and then some. Well, right now, a teenager can read this book, it's all in your head, and see those pictures and read the little chapters, which are usually a page or a page and a half. And they can do a better job of fixing the complaint of the child or the young adult, and because they had osteoporosis skull. And, a kid 8 years old who can just read simple stuff and look at pictures can solve the problems. And so this is one of those things where, again, you don't hear, if you want to have some fun, just, go to your doctor, just say, I just want an exam, but I want to ask you about osteoporosis of the skull. And he says, oh, no, don't tell me about that. That's junk. There's no such thing as osteoporosis. They're going to try and get you to go another direction and say, well, you need to read the book. It's all in your head. And I think the price is, I don't know, a couple of bucks, $3, $4, $5, whatever it is.
I can't remember. I bought it that long ago.
Well, here we go. Let's see what it says here. Okay, it's all in your head. It's $13, $12.95. Okay.
Probably about $20 or so in Australia.
If you get 10 of them, they're only $10 at $9.95. Okay. And so these make great gifts. Anytime a gift is due, give a family, even if they're 30 years old, 50 years old, 75 years old, they can read this stuff because grandpa, who's 75 years old, can get osteoporosis of the skull. A newborn baby can have osteoporosis of the skull if the mother wasn't getting all her supplements during the pregnancy. The baby can be born with osteoporosis of the skull.
Which is if you've got brittle bones,
you
definitely have osteoporosis of the skull.
There you go. And so those are all things that I was able to, what should I say, bring to the front that medical doctors had no clue whatsoever. And so very, very happy to have saved so many babies and young kids and teenagers and even seniors. They get ringing in the ears and balance problem. They fall down the steps and all this kind of stuff. And really just get them off all the bad foods, get them on the 90 essential nutrients. Okay. And it gives you a formula in the book to give them. And we sell that formula. And within a couple of weeks, they don't have osteoporosis of the skull anymore.
No. Yeah. So really, because as a general rule, brittle bones, as the world knows it, when I was looking at this up, Doc, there's so many different types. I mean, You know, they go 1, 2, I think it goes right up to about 8 or 9. And they're trying to say that they're discovering more types of brittle bone, but what it's crazy, and it's sort of kind of just the
Tells you
different.
how ignorant they are, because they say, "Oh, just eat well, you get everything you need."
Yeah.
Well, plants only need 3 minerals. We need 60.
Mm.
And you heard the land flowing with milk and honey.
Yes.
It's not cow's milk; it's glacial milk.
Mm.
Okay, the rocks up in the mountains are being ground up by the glaciers, and the white powder gets into the water coming down the side of the mountains. It looks like milk. It was glacial milk. It wasn't cow's milk. Okay.
That's
And
right.
then,
Yeah.
yeah. And then in addition to that, um, in addition to the glacial milk, they would also um, get the honey part. Well, how'd the honey get into this? Well, all the minerals getting down into the valleys, more flowers, more bees, more honey. And so this is in the Old Testament, the Old Bible, 2,000 years ago. It was written up several times in the Old Bible 2,000 years ago about the land flowing with milk and honey.
Yeah.
And there's several places, because there's mountains where the minerals in the top of the mountains have only 3 minerals or 5 minerals. That ain't going to work. And then there's other places where the minerals at the top of the mountains have 25, 30, 40, 50, 75, 100 minerals. Now that's getting better.
Yeah. Look, it is.
And so those places, people would go, they'd spend months walking there. We're talking about 2,000 years ago. They'd walk to those places and they'd live there and get rid of their arthritis of their bones, and all the pain in their joints would go away. And then they'd take, buckets with that water, and then they'd go back home, and then, it started again. They got to go back next year. And so,
Well, we have an easier way that they can do it right in the comfort of their own home, don't we, dogs?
yes.
So thanks to you for developing and working all these nutrients and minerals out for us that we all need every day, all 90 essential nutrients, minerals, fatty acids, and vitamins.
Yep.
And just so if you happen to be someone who has brittle bones, who was born with it, and then you actually I don't know this person, but I saw, because I thought someone who, particularly a mother who, a woman who has brittle bones, it would be awkward for her to fall pregnant and have a child. And because they're saying, that brittle bones is only inherited. Well, there's plenty of babies that are born with brittle bones, and there's no one in the family with it. But I saw this mum who had brittle bones, and I'm thinking, how the heck did she even safely carry a child? And then the child obviously was, well, not obviously, but the child was also born with brittle bones. And I thought, gosh, what can we do? What should any of us do to prevent our child being born with brittle bones?
Okay, well, in her situation, you would have given her the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, okay, D3, and also the plant-derived minerals.
Yeah.
Okay, and our OsteoFX, okay, and then you need to read the book, Rare Earth, all the minerals that are found in these mines in Ukraine.
That one that you've got a picture of it on the wall behind you.
Yeah.
Rare earths.
Yeah, rare earths, forbidden cures. And then we have epigenetics. Rare earths forbidden cures is, let's see here. I think it's 5,000 pages.
I don't know. I don't know how many pages, but a lot.
Hello.
Yes, and sort of giving the glucogels.
Okay, 500 pages. 500 pages. And then here's another one, another book goes over the same subjects, epigenetics. Okay. And
Yes.
it's one of those things where if you don't have the minerals, you get all these diseases. There are mineral deficiency diseases, including the bones that are brittle, but they're fixable if you give them all the right stuff. You got to stay away from the things that interfere with absorption. And of course, doctors say, well, eat some bread, eat some crackers, eat some pizza crust, all that kind of stuff. No, it's got gluten in it. And the gluten, if the intestines have a little finger like villi to increase the volume, increase the volume for absorption. Okay. And when you eat gluten, wheat, bran, rye, and oats, wheat, bran, rye, and oats kills those villi. So instead of your inside of your intestines look like a shag rug, they look like a plastic tube now. So you cannot absorb enough. Another one is peanuts. When people go to the bar to drink their beer on payday, the bartender gives them peanuts. And after maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of that, they get liver cancer. And the doctor says, well, that's because you've been drinking all that alcohol, peanuts every Saturday. No, it was the peanuts. The peanuts support a fungus called Aspergillus flavus, which makes a poison called aflatoxin, which makes liver cancer. And so we started changing, instead of giving them peanuts when they're drinking beer and whiskey and all that kind of stuff, we give them popcorn. And so all the liver cancer stopped.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately here that they given what we call chips, fried chip, not well, there's still a potato chip, but it's sort of, I'm not sure what you call them over there. Anyway, they're sort of still something that's fried and
yeah, you can eat walnuts and pecans and almonds because they don't grow in the ground where you get contaminated with that fungus. The tree nuts are safe, but the peanuts will get you killed.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, but trying to educate the world, that's another story, isn't it? So yeah, so these are the things that you can do to prevent brittle bones before a child is born, and even after. You can help to, I'm not going to say cure, but to help them to
Reverse.
Reverse it, change their situation. And because like this mum and daughter that I saw, that little girl was probably about probably 5 or 6, and she had that many operations, before she was even 2 years of age. I think this poor little thing.
Was it primarily her bones, or did she have any liver problems or lung problems?
They didn't say. They just said that she has brittle bones, and the mum had brittle bones, and so it's sort of kind of,
it was a diet.
It was quite sad. They didn't elaborate on it so much because they were more or less because she was in and out of hospital so often.
Well, we have excuse me, we have 25 best-selling books that cover these territories.
Yeah.
And so when you have a family, everybody in the family gets the problem. It's definitely the diet. Okay. And so we have the books. We have 27 best-selling books. We have over 100 CDs. We've got about 25 DVDs. And so the information is there. Okay. Well, my doctor says, okay, well, I just, it's one of those things where.
Yeah,
No,
I get that all the time. My doctor says, and my doctor's been to university for X amount of years. And I thought, what did your doctor learn about nutrition? Did he learn about how to reverse these things? Is he interested in even helping you reverse these things?
well, let's look at the scorecard. The average lifespan of the emergency room doctors in America is 58.7 years.
Yeah, it's a bit not.
The U.S. government just
ideal.
published that a couple of weeks ago.
Mm.
58.7 years is the average lifespan of a um, emergency room doctor in America. A medical doctor who has a standard medical practice, where they see kids and mamas and grandmas and grandpas and so forth, their average lifespan is 79.3.
Mm.
Now, right now, the oldest people on Earth are in Pakistan. They're the Hunzas in the Himalayan mountains. Their average lifespan, according to our government, is 122 years.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah, big difference, so almost double. And so it's one of those things where somebody's got to sit down and talk with these folks and say, well, why do you think these doctors live to be 79.3 and the emergency room doctors live to be 58.7? And the average American, the average person from the Philippines, from Australia, New Zealand, the average lifespan. What's the average lifespan where you live?
I think it's around the last I looked around 84, I think.
Okay.
I have to go and look it up again because these things change all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say it's 84. Okay. So 84 is better than 79, but why isn't it 122? Okay. And that's because, you're surrounded in your islands, you're surrounded by all kinds of seaweed and stuff like that. So they're getting more minerals. That's why they live to be 83, 84, whatever it is, instead of 58.7.
Still, and I do know a number of people that are that age, and some of them don't want to live any longer anyway, but that's really quite sad. But I often say to people, it's not the amount of years between the dash that God gives you, it's how well you live it. Do you want to live it in pain and suffering, or do you want to live it enjoying every last minute of it? And that's the difference.
Well, here's our flip chart. Okay. And on page 20, I think it's 26 or 27, page, I can't even read it. Yeah, 26. Okay. These are common diseases of the brain and spinal cord. Okay.
Yeah.
Humanity. Now, why is that? Well, that's because they're not eating the right stuff. They might be eating the right stuff, but they're eating it from a place that didn't have the nutrients in the soil. They didn't have the minerals coming down the mountains because they're living out in the desert. That's why it's a desert. There's not enough nutrition out there to grow trees.
And they keep chopping the trees down and not replacing them.
Yeah. So at any rate, we have the book, Rare Earth Cures. I don't think you can see that one. Can you see Rare Earth Cures?
Yes, it's right there behind you.
Okay, so you can see it.
Yes,
okay.
I can.
Okay, Rare Earth Cures. And then the book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And then the book.
See that one there too?
Yeah. And then the book, Epigenetics.
I have it right here.
There you go. Well. That's our biggest seller, that one right there, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. We have it, I don't know how many languages. It's that special language.
Mine came with a CD as well.
There you go. Is that a DVD or a CD?
It's a CD.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, I think this is before the DVD came out. I've had this one a while.
Okay. So the point is, none of these things are genetics. Well, my doctor says it's genetic because there's 5 people in our family with the same disease. No, that's because they're all eating grandma's recipes.
Yeah. They're all missing the vital, essential nutrients and minerals. And
there you go.
Yeah. So the mighty 90. So,
yeah. And so, well, my doctor says I don't have to take any vitamins, but maybe a little vitamin C during the wintertime because of the cold. It'll help you prevent a cold, vitamin C. Otherwise, he says, don't waste your time and money on taking vitamins and minerals. Well, that's because they make their living by treating your arthritis and osteoporosis and brittle bones and all that kind of stuff. And if you take all the 90 essential nutrients, okay, you have to, for instance, do you just put dirt from Texas in your car, or do you put gasoline in there?
I would put the gasoline in there. You won't go very far with dirt.
Well, there you go. Same thing with us. You just can't eat junk food. If you eat junk food, you better be taking vitamins and minerals. And if you're eating very good food, still take vitamins and minerals.
Yeah. But you can't out-supplement a bad diet.
Yeah. You can't. You have to really pay attention to these details. Otherwise, you pay the price. And
absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to be like those emergent. It freaked me out. I said, that can't be right. So I looked in like 5 or 6 different places, and they're all saying, yeah, emergency room doctors, they only live to be 58.7.
We need to go and have a talk to them. Ask them if they want to live a long life or a short life.
We'll just send them a copy of this video you're doing here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So guys, stop letting those around you suffer. And okay, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But share this video, share it around. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can catch all the lectures that Doc and I have done together, and all the other people that I've interviewed over the last couple of years. Actually, a couple of years. And let's teach the world. Let's show everyone that there's so much information out there. There's no need for people to be constantly suffering from brittle bone disease, osteoporosis, any of these things that you'll find in here. Just even the common cold, we can deal with things with that. Comes down to making sure you're having your 90 essential nutrients and minerals and fatty acids. You just stop doing yourself a disfavor and reach out to me, and I will help you to turn your life around. Mind you, you've got to be really good at following the plan that either myself or Doc or whoever.
You've got the CDs. Say, I'll loan you a CD. If you want to pay for it, you keep it. But if you don't want to pay for it, I'll loan it to you for a couple of days so you can listen to it.
Yeah, that's right. It's an amazing lecture, and I tell you, every time I listen to it, Doc, I learn something new, because there's so much information in there. And if you're writing notes, you can't take it all in at once. You sort of can't. I think I missed something. Hang on, let's go back and do that again. And that's the whole idea of why I talk to Doc every month and why I have other guest speakers, because we're trying to help to educate you so you can have live younger, longer, and have an amazing life between your dash, no matter how long God gives you, whether it's a short time or a long time. We want you to have a long time between that dash and live it well. So, Doc, I want to thank you for coming on today again and sharing all this great information with us. And
thank you for all the good things you do and get the information out to humanity. God bless you. I know God loves you because you're doing great work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, yeah. So, look, to get this information out to the world is what Doc and I are all about. That's all we can do, is give you the information. What you do with it is your responsibility, not mine, not Doc's. We are just trying to educate you. So as I ask you all nicely here in Bronie's world to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And when you are giving your body what it needs, then you too, my friends, will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant, and most definitely very brave. Thank you, Doc, for your time and your effort. And I hope that you'll be back in your home real soon. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter who you are, you can get kicked out of your home for
Yeah.
a bit when you've got a leaky roof. Anyway, God bless you all. Catch you
Okay.
again. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye, Doc. Thank you very much for your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.